Well, namaskar, good afternoon to all. Annyeong Hasanika. Welcome once again to the third consecutive event of Sarang 2020. We kick-started the Festival of India on 16th October through an online interaction with the popular film director Imtiaz Ali on this digital platform. On 17th and 18th October, we tried to bring glimpses of Indian culture at Nami Island, famous for its incredible scenery and beautiful landscape. Today, we are back with you with a very special guest, Mr. Prakash Jha, the famous multiple award-winning Indian film producer, director, and actor, for a live interaction. Well, friends, like previous years for Sarang, as like previous years, we are not able to meet face-to-face this year, but given the restrictions posed by the global pandemic, we have tried our best to bring the diverse cultural canvas of India at your doorstep through series of events organized via digital medium and live streaming on our social media platforms. Today, besides this live interaction, we are also live streaming the session on Facebook at ICCR in Republic of Korea. You may share the feed on your timelines. Those who are joining for the first time for Sarang, let me give a brief introduction. Starting in 2015, Sarang is the cultural festival of India in Republic of Korea, introducing India's colorful and diverse heritage, and has since then grown in size and popularity, promoting soft power in its truest sense and contributing to India's rich civilizational legacy and cultural vibrancy. The word Sarang has a very meaningful interpretation for both Koreans and Indians. Sarang in Korean means love, and for Indians, it refers to diversity, representing different colors of India. As a part of this festival, we try to showcase the rich cultural diversity of India represented through various art forms, including dance, drama, music, films, and cuisine. This depiction of diversity captures the hearts and minds of the local community in Korea and strengthens the love and friendship between the people of the two countries. Without much ado, let me now call upon Mr. Surinder Bhagat, the Deputy Chief of Mission, for his welcome remarks. Over to you, Bhagatji.
Namaskar, Annyeong Hasika, to all Korean friends who are joining us for this live interaction with one of the most prominent and well-known film producers, directors of India, Mr. Prakash Jha. I, on behalf of Embassy, would like to welcome all of you to this Sarang Festival. Sonuji has given you a brief introduction as to what Sarang has to offer you. In the current times of COVID, we have toned down our programs, keeping in mind the restrictions placed by the health authorities here. But in any case, this is we have come up with this this new program of interaction with some of the popular, most prominent the filmmakers. Because we felt that Indian movies are quite popular here in South Korea. Some of them are now very prominent, and some of them have actually made a mark here on Seoul also, like Dangal and others. So we thought maybe we should have an interaction with our friends, with our filmmakers who can introduce or who can spread information about the Indian Bollywood. Bollywood is like a reflection of Indian society, and we thought that maybe in this this edition of Sarang, we should introduce this Bollywood through the eyes of our filmmakers, film producers. And we are lucky that in this edition we have some of the best most known filmmakers from Indian Bollywood. Today we are joined with Mr. Prakash Jha, who is a very well-known figure on the Indian Bollywood landscape. Mr. Prakash Jha has been associated with Bollywood since 1980s, and he has made some of the very well-known films like Mrityudand, Gangajal, Apharan, Rajniti, Satyagrah, and these are some of the films I'm talking. The list goes on and on. And also he has made some of the national award-winning documentaries as well. Mr. Prakash Jha's movie, in fact, he has acted in one of the recent movies which was selected for the Busan, this year's Busan National Film Festival, about which we will hear from the horse's mouth in a few minutes from now. In fact, in that movie, he has also acted. This movie is called Mantu's Bicycle. we will definitely like to know more about this Prakashi. We have a very vibrant audience here. We'll also have a Q&A session afterwards. People would definitely like to know more as to what Bollywood has to offer and how we can, if there is any possibility of having, joint venture, or at some point of time, our film producers, filmmakers can come together and make some kind of a common project. I mean, these are of course some open ideas. I'm just floating. But now, without much ado, I would now like to hand over the mic to Sonuji for your rest of the program. Thank you, Prakashi. Once again, welcome to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your welcome remarks. Before we move over to the main conversation, we will now like to release the video of a very special competition announced for the first time by us. The competition was titled as the YouTuber Video Competition. We had invited YouTubers based in Korea to create videos and contents with new and fresh perspective on India. The winning team has been awarded 2 round trips flight tickets to India. The tickets will be valid for the next financial year, beginning from April 2021 till March 2022. Hopefully, travel restrictions would ease out by then. The tickets have been sponsored by Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. May I now request our team to share the award-winning video of the YouTuber Kimchi Curry Smile. We would like to congratulate Mr. Jun and his team of Kimchi Curry Smile for this award and also for his interest and love for India.
안녕하세요. 인도인들에게 한국인들에게 인도를 소개하는 문화교류 유튜브 채널을 운영하는 김치 커리 스마일입니다. 오늘은 제가 아직 인도를 잘 모르시는 분들을 위해 제가 아는 인도를 알려드리려고 영상을 찍게 되었습니다. 여러분, 인도 하면 무엇이 먼저 떠오르시나요? 카레? 간디? 타지마할? 그래서 제가 한번 주변에 있는 친구들에게 인도 하면은 무엇이 먼저 떠오르는지 인터뷰를 진행해 봤습니다.
인도 하면은 떠오르는 것 좀 말해봐.
인도는 역시 간디, 인구가 많은 대국이라고 생각이 듭니다.
불교 맞나 모르겠는데 약간 노란색 칼라?
인도.
카레?
뭐를 말하는 거야? 어떤 거 말하다는 거야?
저도 이 채널을 운영하기 전까지는 인도 하면은 친구들이랑 마찬가지로 카레, 간디, 발리우드 댄스 이런 것들을 먼저 떠올렸던 것 같아요. 그래서 인도 하면은 인구가 세계에서 2번째로 많고 카레의 원조, 페얼가니, 당갈, 인도에서 유명했던 영화들이 한국에서도 흥행을 했던 그런 시기가 있죠. 그래서 어렸을 때 인도 영화를 보다 보면 막 중간에 춤도 추고 노래도 하고 약간 뮤지컬 같았던 느낌이 났던 것 같아요. 자, 그러면 지금 우리가 떠올리는 인도의 이미지, 과연 이것이 인도의 전부일까요? 그래서 제가 결정했습니다. 한번 인도에 가보기로. 단순히 한국에서 우리가 뭐 인터넷이나 책이나 이런 곳에서 접하는 인도의 모습 말고 한번 직접 가서 느껴보기로 결심했습니다. 그럼 한번 인도에 갔다 오고 나서 같이 한번 얘기해보는 걸로 하죠. 그럼 지금 바로 인도로 가보겠습니다. Let's get it! 남학때 이렇게 제가 인도를 여행하고 왔습니다. 여행 간 김에 한번 쿨타도 사서 입어봤는데 잘 어울리나요? 이건 이제 인도의 남자 전통 의상 쿨타, 쿠르타라고 하는데요. 한번 제가 이렇게 입어봤습니다. 그럼 지금부터 제가 여행하면서 느꼈던 인도를 들려드리도록 하겠습니다. 여러분도 아시다시피 인도는 세계 4대 문명 중 하나인 인더스 문명의 발상지입니다. 아마 지금부터 대략 한 5,000년 전쯤 그때부터였을 거예요. 이렇게 인도는 정말 긴 전통과 역사를 가진 국가입니다. 그래서 다양한 민족과 역사가 긴 만큼 정말 많은 다양한 문화들을 가지고 있습니다. 그래서 제가 첫 번째로 얘기하고 싶은 거는 바로 다양성이에요. 저도 인도로 가기 전까지는 인도 하면은 세계에서 인구가 두 번째로 많은 국가고 이제 다 같이 하나의 언어, 힌디어를 쓰는 그런 국가인 줄만 알았어요. 그래서 역사가 길다 보니까 언어, 전통, 예술, 문화, 음식 어떤 것 하나 똑같은 것이 없더라고요. 언어 같은 경우에는 영어, 힌디어, 마하라트어 이런 언어들을 많이 사용하기는 하지만 정말 특정 지역이나 지방에 가면은 의사소통이 되지 않는 경우도 있었습니다. 그리고 각 지역들마다 정말 그 고유의 어떤 특별한 문화와 전통을 가지고 있어서 음식부터 문화, 여러 가지 모든 것들이 다 같은 것이 없었어요. 그래서 저는 도시에서 도시를 옮겨 다닐 때마다 다른 지방으로 갈 때마다 정말 색다른 경험을 많이 하고 왔습니다. 한번 음식을 예로 들어볼게요. 음식 같은 경우에도 이제 인도의 전통 음식 커리가 있죠. 이제 보통 한국에는 카레라고 많이 알려져 있는데 이 커리에 주로 들어가는 게 이제 마살라라고 하는 향신료인데 이 마살라도 한국에서 제가 그냥 한국식 커리를 먹을 때는 그냥 보통 이제 하나의 그런 인스턴트 커리를 많이 먹었죠. 하지만 인도 같은 경우에는 이 커리에 들어가는 마살라, 이 마살라도 정말 여러 가지 향신료와 재료들로 만들어가지고 이제 커리를 요리하더라고요. 그래서 정말 신기했던 게 지역마다 그 커리, 마살라의 맛이 다르고 그리고 또 집집마다 만드는 그 커리, 마살라의 레시피가 달랐습니다. 이뿐만 아니라 제가 잘레비라고 인도의 디저트를 정말 좋아했는데요. 이 잘레비도 예를 들어서 델리 지방에서는 좀 더 사이즈가 작고 약간 크리스피한 그런 잘레비를 주로 먹었다면은 뭄바이 지방 가니까 마하슈트라죠. 그쪽 가니까 또 되게 사이즈가 크고 약간 좀 더 푹신푹신한 그런 잘레비를 많이 먹더라고요. 저는 2달 동안 델리, 뭄바이, 자이푸르, 푸네, 알리바구 이렇게 5개의 도시들을 돌아봤는데 정말 시간이 너무나도 부족했습니다. 아마 인도의 여러 특색 있는 지방들을 다 여행하려면은 정말 한 최소 6달? 5달? 이렇게 길게 여행을 한번 가는 게 좋을 것 같아요. 그래서 인도를 여행하면서 제가 친구한테 물어봤더니 인도를 제대로 여행하려면은 100km마다 있는 도시를 다 가봐야 된다고 해요. 왜냐면 100km마다 이제 그런 문화와 음식과 이런 것들이 조금씩 다르기 때문에 정말 제대로 된 인도를 느낄 수 있다고 들었습니다. 그래서 전 인도를 여행하면서 정말 음식이 정말 많이 기억에 남았는데요. 엄청나게 다양한 음식들을 먹으려고 시도를 많이 했거든요. 길거리에서 스트리트푸드도 먹고 유명하다는 식당에서도 가서 먹어보고 홈메이드 푸드도 먹어보고 이런 여러 가지 음식들을 많이 먹어봤는데 그래도 제가 먹어봤던 음식들은 아마 인도에 있는 음식들의 아마 한 100분의 1? 그 정도도 안 될 거예요. 그 정도로 정말 다양한 음식들이 있습니다. 음식들도 대부분 입맛에 맞았고요. 그리고 인도 같은 경우에는 디저트 문화가 굉장히 발달되어 있더라고요. 엄청 많은 종류의 디저트들이 있고 항상 밥 먹고 또 디저트를 먹는 재미도 쏠쏠했습니다. 그래서 제가 인도에서 맛있게 먹었던 음식들을 한번 떠올려 보면은 짜나파투라, 카초리, 파니푸리, 사모사, 라시, 봄베이빌 정말 끝도 없는 것 같아요. 그리고 인도의 음식들을 먹으면서 느꼈던 점은 뭔가 되게 건강한 맛이라고나 할까? 보통 우리의 입맛은 약간 인스턴트나 이런 것들에 많이 길들여져 있잖아요. 근데 인도 같은 경우에는 채식을 하시는 분들도 많고 이제 먹을 때 담백한 음식들이 많다 보니까 음식을 먹으면서도 살이 많이 찌지도 않고 되게 건강하게 많이 먹었던 것 같아요. 그리고 제가 인도에서 음식을 먹을 때 이제 주로 손으로 많이 먹었는데요. 이 인도에서 음식을 손으로 먹는 이유는 그 음식 본질의 맛을 더 잘 느끼기 위함이라고 합니다. 그래서 저도 자연스럽게 여행을 하면서 손으로 먹다 보니까 손으로 먹는 게 너무 편하더라고요. 이제 저 같은 경우에는 영화를 좋아해서 인도 가서 꼭 하고 싶었던 게 인도 영화관 가서 영화 보기였는데요. 인도가 발리우드가 되게 유명하잖아요. 그래서 우리는 그 발리우드만을 인도의 이제 영화 산업이라고 생각하고 있는데 인도에는 정말 다양한 영화 산업들이 있더라고요. 볼리우드, 콜리우드, 몰리우드, 톨리우드 정말 지방마다 정말 그 고유의 영화 산업을 가지고 있어서 또 그 영화 산업들마다 특징이 다 있었어요. 그래서 정말 영화를 보는 재미도 쏠쏠했습니다. 저도 한 2달 정도 인도를 여행했지만 정말 인도가 어떤 국가라고 특정 짓긴 되게 힘든 것 같아요. 아직 모르는 부분이 너무 많고 못 가본 곳도 너무 많고 앞으로 더 여행을 하고 싶은 그런 느낌이 들었습니다. 제가 인도를 여행하면서 느꼈던 두 번째는 한국과 비슷한 점이 굉장히 많다는 점이었어요. 우선 사람들의 성격으로 저는 그런 인상을 되게 많이 받았는데요. 인도도 한국과 마찬가지로 사람들이 굉장히 친절하고 친숙하고 그리고 잘 대해주시더라고요. 어느 지방 어디를 가든지 되게 친숙하게 잘 대해주시고 정말 그 한국의 정이라고 하죠. 이런 것들이 인도에도 많이 있는 것 같다고 느꼈습니다. 그래서 제가 인도를 여행하면서 좋았던 인상 중에 하나가 인도 사람들을 만난 것이었는데 정말 지역을 여행할 때마다 새로운 친구들을 사귀고 새로운 사람들을 만났습니다. 근데 정말 모두가 한결같이 잘 도와주시고 잘 대해주셔서 정말 그래서 더 좋았던 여행이 되었던 것 같아요. 인도 같은 경우에도 이제 한국과 마찬가지로 어떤 그 어른에 대한 예절 이런 것들이 있는 반면에 또 이 친구들이나 새로운 사람들, 다른 곳에서 온 사람들 이런 사람들에 대해서 굉장히 오픈된 마인드를 가지고 있는 것 같았어요. 그래서 여행을 하면서 정말 많은 곳들을 알려주셨고 맛있는 음식들을 많이 소개해 주셨고 정말 많이 도와주셨던 덕에 여행을 잘 했던 것 같아요. 마지막으로 3년 뒤가 더 기대되는 나라였습니다. 지금 인도의 주요 도시인 뭄바이나 델리를 시작으로 정말 많은 곳이 발전을 하고 있더라고요. 그래서 가보면은 이제 그런 교통 같은 것들도 이제 해소시키기 위해서 많은 인프라가 지금 건설되고 있고요. 앞으로 경제적으로나 여러 가지 산업적으로나 발전이 무궁무진한 나라라고 느꼈습니다. 오늘은 이렇게 제가 여행하면서 느꼈던 인도를 들려드렸습니다. 저는 인도를 한 2개월 정도 여행을 했는데요. 비록 이제 상황이 안 좋아져가지고 제가 계획했던 시간보다는 짧게 머무르면서 일찍 귀국을 했지만 아직 못 가본 지역도 너무 많고 경험해보지 못했던 것들도 많아서 정말 다시 한번 꼭 방문을 해보고 싶습니다. 그래서 아직 인도를 잘 모르시는 분들이나 흥미는 있지만 여행이 망설여지시는 분들, 혹시라도 아직까지 인도에 어떤 선입견이 있으신 분들은 모두 한번 기회가 된다면 인도를 방문해 보셔서 제가 여행하면서 느꼈던 것들을 모두 경험해 보시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 그럼 마지막으로 인도를 하나의 문장으로 표현을 하고 영상을 마치려고 하는데요. 제가 생각하는 인도는 작은 지구이다. 비록 길다면 길고 짧다면 짧은 2달간의 여행이었지만 저는 하나의 국가를 여행했다기보다는 정말 세계를 여행한 것 같은 느낌이 들었어요. 그 정도로 정말 다양하고 다이나믹하고 재밌었습니다. 그럼 모두들 기회가 되시면 꼭 한번 인도를 방문해보세요. 지금까지 시청해주셔서 감사합니다. 안녕! 다녀봐!
Well, I'm sure these kinds of competitions, and after seeing this video, maybe more YouTubers and more people in Korea would be interested in knowing more and more about India and making more videos. And also this would also encourage tourism between the two countries. Now we move to the main section of today's program. It is a personal pleasure and delight to welcome Mr. Prakash Jha, who is a multiple award-winning independent filmmaker from India. He has produced and directed 14 feature films, over 25 documentaries, 2 featurettes, and 3 series for television. Mr. Jha has won 10 national awards, including 2 Golden Lotus Awards for the Best Feature Film of the Year in 1985 for his film Damul, and for the Best Documentary of the Year in 2002 for Sonal, a documentary which is based on the life of the legendary dancer Sonal Man Singh. He has also won the National Award for the Best Screenplay for Apaharan in 2006 and the National Award for the Best Feature Film on Other Social Issues for Gangajal in 2004. Several of his films, including Damul, Parampara, Parinati, and Mrityudan, have participated at various international film festivals and won appreciation and awards. In his quest to explore newer forms of expression, he has also taken up to acting. His full-fledged character of a cop in 2016 released film Jai Gangajal has been well appreciated by critics and viewers. His recent film Matu's Bicycle has been selected for the world premiere under a window on Asian cinema category at Busan International Film Festival 2020, and it will be screened on 23rd of October. It is indeed a privilege to welcome Mr. Prakash Jha once again, and we look forward to an insightful conversation. We welcome you, Prakash Jha ji, once again, and let us begin the conversation. And I would like to begin from where I have just ended. Well, as I have just shared with our participants that your recent film, Mattu Ki Cycle, will be screened at Busan International Film Festival on this Friday, that is 23rd October. Would you like to introduce the film to our Korean friends here?
Well, thank you very much, Sonuji, and our embassy for giving me this opportunity to participate in this session of Sarang. It is such a pleasure being with the Indian and the South Korean friends, and also the occasion when my film Bicycle will be premiered at the Busan International Film Festival on the 23rd. The film is the story of Matto, who is a daily wage earner, and his bicycle is just a year older than his own daughter. His daughter is 19 and the bicycle is 20. And he struggles every day to have his bicycle in order so he can reach his workplace in time and not lose on that day's wage. So his ailing wife, a teenage daughter, and a primary school dropout girl, they appreciate little pleasures of life, just life around the progressing village. And the film is the story of this family, Matto's bicycle.
हम छोटे आदमी हैं साहब, इज्जत से जितना मिल जाए वही बहुत है। रुपये तो 300 है ना।
12 बजे तू आया हो, 5 बज रहे हैं, 300 कैसे है?
क्या कर रहे हैं भाई? ये टूटती कौन बेर करता?
अरे आलू ही रांध दे आज।
आलू रात को बन जाएंगे।
कमाई मैं करूं, गर्मी में परेशान मैं हूं, तो काहे को इतनी कंजूस नहीं बन रही है मैं सास क्यों?
ये वही मट्टू है जो कोई आने को टाइम है।
मेरी साइकिल में रोज कछु न कछु टंटो लग जाए ठेकेदार।
जय कब तक रोंदे को विचार है कि जब तक बिल्कुल टे नहीं बोल जाए, जब तक तू मेरी और मैं तेरा।
जब बोलेगो कारी जबानी बोलेगो, बैठना ही बेकार है तेरे पास तो।
अरे साइकिल
मो तो ये साइकिल आती हुई दिख ना रही हाल फिलहाल में। घर कैसा चला वो? या महीना में 12 दिन भी काम पे ना जा पाए हो तुम?
तो ऐसे कैसे काम चलेगा? ये रोज को सुना ठीक है वो यार, या फिर तू टम्पू ते आओ कर यार।
पापा तुम तो कह रहे कि तुम कहो थकते ना, अब कैसे थक गए?
देखते देखते 20 साल निकल गए यार, कन्नू कछु नहीं कर पाए यार।
ले तू मेरी थाली में तो खा ले, मेरो है गो।
Thank you. That was the trailer of Mattu's Bicycle, the film that will be premiered on Friday, October the 23rd at Busan International Film Festival. So taking forward the conversation with Prakash Jha ji, let us hear some of his experiences from his personal life. Well, Prakash ji, can you share with us the period in your life when you knew you wanted to be a movie maker?
Well, much later. I mean, when I was at the university in Delhi studying physics, I came to realize what I didn't want to do. And that was, I didn't want to get into a regular rut of becoming an IAS officer and raising a family and trying to make my children again, getting them into civil services. I just wanted to do something different. And I really didn't know what to do, but I thought I would sort of try my hand at learning how to sculpt or paint or write or do something. So I moved to Mumbai in search of a profession, in search of some skill. It was quite an exciting time, and that is when in Mumbai, while I was doing various things, I happened to watch a film shooting one day, and it did kind of like, hit me like lightning, and I decided that this is exactly what I want to do. And then, of course, like, I went on to Film and Television Institute of India and did my training in film editing. And I have been, making documentaries and feature films and films for television for quite some time now.
Well, that's an interesting and very inspiring because like for a normal college going student, it's always an ambition to become a great personality. And as a student at Delhi University, as you have just narrated, like how you became a famous film star, that's truly inspiring. Well, in the last 4 decades, you have made several award-winning films and documentaries. And if you had to pick one favorite out of all your films, which one would it be and why?
Very difficult question, but there was a film early in my filmmaking career. I made a film called Parinati, which is a film based on a folk tale in Rajasthan. It was written by Vijay Dandetha Bijji, as we used to call him. And it's a very, it's an eternal story. As we in India, in Hindi, we call it Shaswat Kahani. It deals with one big truth. Truth is about greed. That when greed hits you, it completely envelops you and blinds you, and you don't even recognize your own, blood. So that is what the whole story is about. And it's a very small film in terms of its scale. Film about a potter and his wife in a desert, and we shot it in a desert in Rajasthan called Dungargarh. It's not very far from Bikaner, and that film also had won a national award, and it was also premiered on Doordarshan in those days, and it is very close to me, and because it's such a small and a beautiful film.
Well, yes. It is generally believed that there is always a person behind somebody's success. So, as a person who has been really successful in film industry, who do you consider that one person to be behind your success?
I don't really know about success. Sometimes I am able to tell stories which I find listeners, I find audience, and I find viewers. But my constant effort to be able to tell better stories and more engaging stories continues. I can't really name one person. I could possibly think of my mother. I mean, I did think of your question. Who actually believed in me, who did not kind of like, create any kind of negativity around me. And she pushed me to be able to achieve, to be able to do what, I dreamt of. So that way I could say, but, I mean, otherwise there are a whole lot of people. When you make movies, you can't do it alone. You have to have a big team. You have to have writers, you have to have editors, you have to have camera people, you have to have production people, and a whole team which kind of like, works with you. But I mean, there are friends, there are people who kind of like, encourage you, all those things. But that one person, that I can think of is my mom. Yes.
Truly, like in every, I'm sure all the participants here would agree that mother is the first teacher of any child, and like all individuals, they certainly owe to their mother. And yes, we can believe how you've been inspired by your mother. Well, moving to the next question, Prakash, could you tell us the moment or the moments of your life when you had no idea you would become a legendary film personality, but in retrospect, they have changed your life. So if you could share some of those moments.
Sonuji, you are very kind and you use these words like legendary filmmakers and things like that. I am nowhere close to any legend. I still have, aspirations to do some useful work, some meaningful work, which I continuously aspire to. But yes, to answer your question, what exactly was it?
I wanted you to share some of the moments of your life, or maybe one particular moment which you can identify, which changed your life, or you can say which when you look back to your life, you can say that that was one particular moment which really brought a change in your
Exactly. When I came to Mumbai, I was just about 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. And I was trying to find out, like, I used to go to the art college, the school, the JJ School of Arts, and hang around there and go to theater groups and hang around there. And I was just trying to see what I could do. And one day a friend of mine who was going to a shooting place, I mean, I still remember a hotel in Juhu called Sun and Sand Hotel, and there was a shooting going on over there, film shooting, and I just casually tagged along, and I went there, and I started watching the shoot for the first time in my life, and I saw the cameras, the trolleys, the dresses being taken, the artists being prepared, and the megaphones and the whole paraphernalia, and I was completely kind of zapped. I stood in one corner for almost like 8-9 hours, and I kept watching everything that was going, and I don't remember how time passed, but by the end of the day I knew exactly what I was going to do. So my memory of that day is completely fresh in my mind even today. It's almost like 35, 37 years old, but I can't forget that day. That was it.
Yeah, that's again quite interesting for us. Prakash Ji, your fans and followers say that Prakash Jha creates his stories from the fragments of real lives on socially and politically relevant themes. Your characters look real and genuine, and above all, relatable. Could you name your most memorable film character till date?
Very difficult, because I love all my characters. But the recent one, Buchi Paswan from Pariksha, Adil Hussain played that character, and this film was recently released. And very close. In fact, all my characters, because I find it very difficult to portray characters which is not within the realm of believability. I don't even say reality, but whatever the character says, does, or emotes, that usually is within the realm of believability. You believe the character. But Buchi was very close to kind of like my heart and the character, because he plays the role of a rickshawala who gathers children every morning from this rich locality and takes them to an English convent school, little knowing as to what his own child who studied in the municipal school, what he would do and the opportunities his own child will ever be able to get. So it's his struggle to educate his own child. That's the character Buchi Paswan played, and I really love that character.
Moving now to some of the Bollywood films. These are we would like you to suggest some of the films which are certainly not yours, and since we see a lot of interest among Koreans in Bollywood films, can you suggest some of the Indian movies you would like to recommend as a must-watch for the Korean audience?
Well, a film, Mother India. Do Bigha Zameen, and maybe Mughal-e-Azam.
Yeah.
These are three films which are completely different genre, but they will give you an idea about what India is all about. The sentiment, the family, the emotions in Mother India, the hardships, the reality, the starkness of life, that is Do Bigha Zameen by Bimal Roy, and the grandeur and the history and the fantasy, which is Mughal-e-Azam.
Well, these are certainly some of the classical films, and if you somebody wants to really know about India, these are the films which they must watch. But Prakash ji, any contemporary film which you would like to suggest, which can give the picture of 21st century India?
Well, oh God, 21st century India. India is not one. India is so many. India is so much. India is a bunch of ideas, a bunch of civilization, bunch of people, bunch of languages, bunch of cultures. Even the food is so different, so many. So it's very difficult to say what would represent India as such. But the film that has is very difficult to say one or two films. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but we can just suggest our Korean friends here to watch some of the new films that have been released, and that is why even we have encouraged the YouTubers also to make videos on India, just to show the
I saw that.
emerging India, so that we can bring and portray the real picture of the transformation that is taking place in the country. Well, Prakash ji, let's move to now South Korea. What comes to your mind when you think about South Korea? The first thing that comes to your mind?
Very disciplined and hardworking people, and of course the South Korean films are very popular and very similar in terms of sentiment to our own Indian films or Indian society. South Korea also for sports, because they are very good at athletics and football. South Korea for lots of technology, in terms of utilities, industry, cars, appliances, all kinds of things. So it's when I think of South Korea, I think of people who are disciplined, who are hardworking, who produce a lot, and who excel. I think people who are very happy, people who are very independent, people who are very inspiring as a nation. All these things comes to my mind.
Because of this global pandemic, we see major changes, major transformations taking place in the whole world. So how do you think this global pandemic has changed the cinema and the theaters in now and in coming times?
Well, it has completely shut everything down in cinema in now. And I'm sure that it's going to impact, by the time we forget this pandemic and we have normalized this, it's probably going to, take quite some time. I don't see, I myself am a cinema owner. I know how we have gone through, and I am a cinema producer, I'm a cinema viewer. So it's been very difficult everywhere. In fact, even the Busan International Film Festival, they have not been able to invite international guests, and there is a very limited kind of screening, limited audience. And cinema is not supposed to be like that. So cinema is supposed to be massive. Cinema is supposed to be viewing together. Cinema is supposed to be, crowd. So, I mean, I really don't know what complete impact of this is going to happen in terms of cinema, whether we are going to have cubicles made for every seat and watch cinema, or, I hope that this pandemic weakens, the virus becomes part of our life. You can't wish it away, but then we can live with it and we can move on with our own lives. I hope.
Well, let's hope for the best. And meanwhile, my personal feeling is this, that because of this global pandemic, in fact, we all have become adaptable, and we have adapted to the new techniques. In fact, the way we are doing this interaction, we would have never thought about this till previous year. So probably the best is to convert this crisis into opportunity and see how best we can make use of this time period that we have. Now, as an Indian, could you suggest for our Korean friends some of the important places that they must visit during their trip to India? And also some of the dishes that you would like to recommend to our Korean friends during their visit to India?
Well, every single dish, and of course, if you come to India, you should try and kind of see at least every region, western part of India in terms of Rajasthan and Gujarat, then eastern part of India, Bengal and Orissa, and of course north. You have all over history, religion, culture. And South India is beautiful because South India has some of the best climates and people, cultures. As far as food is concerned, if you like spicy food, it's India is the place, because all our food everywhere is spicy and it's different in taste. The South Indian food, the Western food, the Marathi food, the Punjabi food, the Bengali food, they're all very, very different, and you should try all of them. And historical places are, of course, will be on your list. But try and see the South Indian coasts and the desert part of India, which is Rajasthan and Gujarat. Kutch, of course, is beautiful. And now I will say that, when you think of India, don't think of making one trip, because you can't see India in one trip. You'll have to come here, quite a few times to be able to understand India. But, we make movies, we'll bring India closer to you all the time.
Well, even we also suggest people to visit, besides the historical and iconic monuments, the coastal areas, as you suggested, the famous beaches of Andaman, Lakshadweep, we have, and then the mountains of Leh, Ladakh, and several other places. So they have to make their wish list and plan accordingly. And as you said, several trips are required to see real India. And this is what also we recommend from our side. We would also like to give you some recommendations. If by any chance, if you plan to visit South Korea this year, we were quite keen to bring you here for Busan International Film Festival, as well as we wanted you to host for our Sarang face-to-face. But we were quite unfortunate. We could not get the required permissions. And that is why we thought maybe based on the audience poll, we would give some local recommendations to you. These recommendations are related to the Korean food, the places that you should visit, the activities that you can indulge in when you visit Korea, and the films. So I would just like to begin with the food. But before that, Prakash ji, can you share you are vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
I'm mostly vegetarian.
Oh, this means that you can also have non-vegetarian food.
No, I am sometimes I used to eat fish, but I haven't been eating fish for the past year and so. But I can go back to eating fish, but I don't eat any meat or chicken or anything. Yeah.
Okay. So in fact, our Korean friends have recommended some vegetarian foods, and for that, the term which is used here is temple food, and these foods are offered in monasteries. So many foreigners think that we do not have much vegetarian option in Korea, but in these temples or Buddhist monasteries, you get temple food, which is purely vegetarian, and without even the onion garlic also you will not find in those foods. So the temple food is recommended for people who are pure vegetarian. And our friends have also recommended Korean chicken, but you said you don't eat chicken. But no fish related food has been recommended. So sorry, Prakash ji. Maybe when you come here, we will give you some recommendation for fish or seafood related dishes. And so far as the places are concerned, our friends have suggested you to visit Jeju Island, which is supposed to be one of the finest place, the largest island, one of the most beautiful place in South Korea. The island contains a natural World Heritage Site designated by UNESCO. And it is called as the Jeju Volcanic Island and the lava tubes. And here in South Korea, there are many traditional markets. And everything is available in traditional markets. These are like our local hearts. So in some rural areas, there are three-day markets or 5-day markets, and the dates are they have it in dates ending with 3, like 3rd, 13th, and 23rd of every month. So these are like our local bazaar or local hearts that we have in rural areas. And so far as the activity that you can indulge in is one is the temple stay, as I just recommended about the temple food. So you can stay in the temple, these Buddhist monasteries. You can stay there, have temple food, and have temple stay. And there they provide the accommodation, and which is mostly in traditional way. And you are supposed to do meditation and have the local food there and live completely in peace. And hiking is the another activity which has been suggested, as more than 70% of South Korea is covered with mountains. So hiking is very popular. So that can be one activity which you can try. And finally, regarding the movies, as everyone now identifies South Korean films with Parasite, but that is not the film that our friends have suggested. They have suggested Gukje Sijang, which is also called as International Market, or in English, Ode to My Father. It is a touching story about the people who have lived through the modern history ever since the Korean War. So these were some of the local recommendations. Prakash ji, when you happen to visit Korea, maybe you can try these as have been suggested by our friends.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Prakash ji, if you have some time, can we take up some questions from our participants here?
Yeah, sure. A little.
Yeah.
Say about a few minutes. Yeah. Few questions.
Yeah. Damayanti Nayak, can you please unmute and ask your question?
Hello, sir. Sir, I'm a very big fan of you, especially your movie Ganga.
Thank you.
So you make movies, especially in issues like burning topics of Indian system, whether it is political or educational administrative. So So why don't you make films which showcases Indian ties with other nations as well, which not only educate our youth and also the other nations' youth. I want to suggest two instances here, like the Indian contribution in Indonesian independence, especially Mr. Biju Patnaik from Odisha, which who have gave his contribution in a heroic manner, and other also the Indian and Korean relation, which in 2000 years ago the Koreans believe, according to their history, that the Indian princess who get married to the Korean king King Suru and led their dynasty further a long way. So why don't you make movies in these kind of topics? Thank you.
It's a wonderful idea. Thank you, Damayanti. You know, it will be nice if you could get some scripts or stories written, because that will be the primary kind of like focus. If I have scripts and stories, I'm sure that one can attract filmmakers. But I guess
Okay, sir. Okay, I will let you know on social media.
yes, do that. Thank you.
Damayanti. Well, Prakash ji, let me share this story of princess from Ayodhya coming to Korea and settling at Gimhe is quite popular, and in fact we have a very close relation with Gimhe city, and Gimhe city has a sister city agreement with Ayodhya, and a queen when this princess from Ayodhya, Suri Ratna, came and settled here and she married King Suro, she came to be known as Queen Her. And a Queen Her memorial is being built in Ayodhya, which will be maybe by next year it will be completed and it will be inaugurated. And we are also having a musical story of this entire the love story of this princess from Ayodhya coming to Korea and marrying the Korean prince. This entire love story will be screened by us on 23rd at 4 p.m. We will be live streaming it, and certainly we will share with you also the link and
That's
also this
lovely. Thank
the
you
strong
very much.
connection that we have.
Thank you.
Can I request Miss Nidhi? Miss Nidhi, can you ask your question?
Yes. Hello, good afternoon all. And I would like to thank Srimati Sripriya Ranganathan and Dr. Sonu Trivedi for organizing this wonderful seminar. It's such a delight to talk to Mr. Prakash Jha. And sir, I saw the trailer and it reminded me of the film Bicycle Thief, one of my favorite movies. And I'm also a huge fan of Bimal Roy, Satyajit Ray, Ritvik Ghatak, and all those directors. So that's why I would like to ask you a question, that why do you think that mainstream directors do not or avoid making films on real issues? And especially after 80s, everything became very monotonous, very backward and typical formula-based hero-centric film. And by the way, sir, your film Lipstick Under My Burqa, which you produced, we really look forward to have such great bold films again. We would like to see you make more such films, sir.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I mean, mainstream is also a reality. Mainstream is also entertainment. Mainstream is also required. And, you know, the stories need not only be from the realm of reality, they also need to be from realm of imagination and fantasy. And we need to accept all of them, and instead of conflict, there should be more resonance of kind of like, you know, say acceptance. So don't worry so much about it. Let those mainstream fantasy films take their own place and let them entertain. And you enjoy the reality which you like, and you enjoy the boldness which you like, because your appreciation is also an encouragement to people like us who continue to deal with such stories. Thank you, Nidhi.
Gaurav Mishra? Gaurav Mishra, can you unmute and ask your question?
नमस्कार सोनू मैम एंड एम्बेसी में धन्यवाद करता हूँ आप सभी का। प्रकाश जी, आपसे मिलकर काफी अच्छा लगा। मैं सुन रहा हूँ आपको। नमस्कार आपको भी। मेरा सवाल है कि आज के दिन में जिस तरह से मीडिया मीडिया बीच में आके बॉलीवुड को बदनाम करती है, बहुत सारे मुद्दे को चेंज कर देती है और राजनीति में वो कन्वर्ट हो जाता है। तो उस तरह के अगर मीडिया करती है तो आप उस पे क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
देखिए, ऐसा है कि एक कहावत है हिंदी में कि जब कुछ काम नहीं रहता है तो दिमाग जो है वो खामखा आवाज करता है। तो मैं यही कहूंगा कि पैंडेमिक की वजह से सबका ध्यान इधर से उधर हो गया और खामखा का जो है वो कोई ना कोई कहानी बनती गई। ये सब चीजें हैं, मैं तो यही कहता हूं कि आती हैं, जाती हैं, गुजर जाती हैं और किसी के कहने से क्या होता है। हमारा विश्वास जो है वो अपने आप में बना रहना चाहिए। अगर किसी वजह से हमने गलती की है और हमें एहसास हो जाता है तो उसको सुधारना चाहिए। और फिर वही कहूंगा कि अच्छाई में, सच में और अपने आप में, इन तीनों में विश्वास रखना चाहिए। बाकी समय गुजर जाता है, सब बातें हो जाती हैं, इतनी चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है।
Okay. Suya Shanda?
Hello, I am Suyasha Hande. I am from India. And Prakash Jha has always been doing films that are related to socio-political movies in India. And I would like to ask regarding like the rural context that's hardly been taken into consideration, like regarding the rural context. Like if you take, for example, there are like some Maharashtrian movies out there which are into rural context. Like if you take 72 Miles Ek Pravas or something like that. There are hardly some films that are based on rural contextual political movies as such. So I would like to ask a question that why hasn't the rural contextual been taken into consideration in movies in India?
Well, I can't answer for the trend or for the reasons that why such things don't happen, but let me assure you that there are people, especially regional cinema people, who are involved, who are engaged in telling those stories. And Matto Ki Cycle is one story, the film which is being shown at Busan, which is completely based in a village, and it's a story about a laborer, a daily wage earner, and it deals with exactly what's happening at the life in the village. But you're right, we need to find more entertaining and engaging stories from the village, from the rural India.
Okay. Miss Tanya?
Namaskar, sir. मैं बहुत बड़ी fan हूँ. My question for you is in regards to the film that you produced, Lipstick Under My Burqa. I'm absolutely a big fan of the film, and I was just wondering, how would you feel if a famous Korean director or producer wanted to recreate the film, but in the context of the modern day Korean women, because you've given us in that film 4 different perspectives of what it is to be a woman in different age groups. So I was wondering, how would you feel if someone, it doesn't necessarily have to be a famous Korean director or producer, but just any Korean producer or director, to be exact, for the Korean audience.
I will be extremely receptive and helpful in collaborating on a film like this. Please let me know if someone is interested. and also I love that script. Alankrita, who made that film, was my associate for a long time, and I love that script primarily because for the first time there was this story where, you know, the whole point of view was from a female's gauge, how the women perceive and look at lives, and how they continuously keep on negotiating little things for their pleasure. So how they look at, you know, men, you know, that was such an interesting kind of look as far as the film was concerned, and I loved that, and that is why I sort of like, you know, backed that film. And yes, I would love to have that film made in Korea. Let's do it.
Dhanyavad, sir. Thank you, ji.
Dhanyavad, dhanyavad.
Irfan, Mr. Irfan.
Namaskar, Prakash Jha. My question to you is, if you want to do something really special about Korean culture and make a movie on Korea, what it would be? Definitely, you shared your project with us. But if it is anything historic or anything relating to present-day Indian culture, also, what would you like to do? Thank you, sir.
I really don't know, Irfan. I was hoping to be able to come to Korea and spend some time this year. I haven't been to Korea ever, and the little bit that we know Korea is through some of the Korean films that we keep on seeing. Very prolific film industry there, but I'm not really able to answer your question because I don't really know Korea very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I'm a very big fan of you and looking forward to your further movies.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Umesh Bhatt.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, namaskar, Umesh ji.
Sir, as we all know that there is a lot of talent related to filmmaking or script writing and all these talent hidden in some rural Indian also. But due to the lack of some stage or some other problems, that talent gets suppressed there. So I want to ask you that in this digital era, how that talent could be extracted from there? Thank you, sir.
Well, nobody extracts the talent. The talent emerges. The talent has the will. The talent will kind of come out of its cocoon and get onto the center stage. We all do that, and there are hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people trying to kind of like, come out, especially in India. And they will go to any extent and they will use every means. And let me tell you that most of the talent that you see on the mainstream, they've all mostly come from rural India. It is not always the city which leads as far as the talent is concerned. So don't worry, if you have talent, if you have the will, and if you have kind of the determination, then use it wisely and sort of like, employ it. You will definitely succeed.
This will be the last question. Gaurav Mishra,
Yes.
can you unmute and ask?
Yeah, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is to you: will you work for the Maithili industry, as you also hail from Bihar and you are also a Maithil? So, will you work for the Maithili industry, and will you change the present scenario of the Bihar? Regional cinema in Bihar. So, as we all know, the problem what Bihar regional cinema has.
I am only a small filmmaker. I only tell stories which kind of like, inspire me. Whether it is Maithili story or whether it is Bihari story or whether it is an Indian story, I'm just a filmmaker, I'm just a storyteller. I'm not a society changer. I am not kind of leader of the any society, so don't expect too much from me. If there is a story somewhere and if it kind of inspires me, I try very hard and then really have to work hard to be able to write that story, tell that story, make it and bring it to people. It's not an easy job. Just because some of my films are liked by people, it doesn't make me very capable and able to be able to do everything that I would like to do. But thank you for pointing it out to me. I'm sure that there are people working towards it. And I'm sure that when such a story does come to my mind and I feel inspired, I'll definitely tell that story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Prakash Ji. And many, many thanks to you for being so generous with time and taking up all the questions. And let me formally propose a vote of thanks. Let us now give a great round of applause. Though it is a digital platform, we can't just clap our hands. But yes, we can acknowledge the presence of our most distinguished guest, our special guest today, Mr. Prakash Jha, for joining us today live from India and making this session so lively and keeping us all engrossed. And finally, to all the live participants for joining us here and also on Facebook and also making very good interventions. At this time, when the whole world is experiencing an unprecedented crisis because of the spread of global pandemic, social distancing and lockdowns world over, the Cultural Center, this Indian Cultural Center, has initiated online activities in its endeavor to keep in touch with the India lovers and Indian cultural enthusiasts in Republic of Korea. I'm sure today's lively session would have further reinforced our hard-pressed attempts to connect with the hearts and minds of people in Korea. Thank you. 감사합니다.